The fancy office was spotless, thanks to the janitorial staff working tirelessly behind the scenes. But to manager Lisa Carter, they were invisible. Or worse, beneath her. "Move faster. I don't pay you to stand around." She snapped at an elderly janitor struggling to mop the floor. Then, her eyes landed on a young black woman in a janitor's uniform, Alicia Monroe. "And you," Lisa sneered. "Try not to mess up like you always do." Lisa had no idea who she was talking to. Because 1 week later, Alicia wouldn't just be walking into this building. She would own it. Before we go any further, subscribe to the channel and comment below where you are watching from. For our returning subscribers, thank you so much for your unwavering support. It truly means a lot to our community. Alicia Monroe had built her real estate empire from the ground up. But even after becoming a millionaire, she never forgot what it was like to be overlooked. She had started as a janitor, working long nights just to make ends meet. And now, she had one final test before making the biggest investment of her career, buying the very building where she had once worked. But first, she wanted to see how the staff was treated when no one thought they were important. So she went undercover, dressed as a janitor again. And what she witnessed would change everything. From the moment Alicia stepped into the building, she felt it. The condescending stares, the disrespectful whispers, the dismissive attitudes. But none of it compared to manager Lisa Carter. Lisa ruled the office with an iron fist, treating the janitorial staff like second-class citizens. She never said please or thank you. She made workers redo tasks for no reason, just to assert power. She openly mocked the janitors in front of higher-ups. And Alicia? She became Lisa's favorite target. Lisa made it her mission to put Alicia in her place. "You missed a spot," she said one morning, pointing at a perfectly clean floor. Alicia bit her tongue and kept mopping. But Lisa wasn't done. "Maybe if you actually paid attention, you'd have a real job instead of scrubbing floors," she sneered, loud enough for passing employees to hear. Laughter rippled through the hallway. Alicia felt the heat rise to her cheeks, but she said nothing. Because she wasn't here to argue. She was here to observe. And Lisa had just sealed her fate. That same afternoon, an elderly janitor named Mr. Jenkins struggled to lift a heavy trash bag. Lisa watched for a moment before rolling her eyes. "Unbelievable. You old folks should retire if you can't even lift a garbage bag," she scoffed. Alicia's hands tightened around her mop. She had seen enough. And Lisa was about to learn that the people she stepped on today would be her boss tomorrow. 1 week later, the same building that once felt cold and hostile now buzzed with tension. But for an entirely different reason. The company's employees had been told to prepare for an important meeting with the building's new owner. No one knew much, except that the sale had gone through faster than expected. Lisa Carter? She was smug. She assumed the new owner would be another corporate suit, eager to take her advice and keep things as they were. What she didn't know was that her worst nightmare was about to walk through that door. At exactly 10 a.m., the elevator doors opened. Out stepped Alicia Monroe. But this time, she wasn't wearing a janitor's uniform. She was dressed in a sleek black pantsuit, her hair in a flawless bun, and a designer handbag resting on her arm. Every step she took down that polished hallway was one of quiet, undeniable power. Lisa's eyes locked on her, and for a moment, confusion flickered across her face. "Is that?" But no, Lisa shook it off. No way. It couldn't be. The janitor she had mocked just days ago couldn't possibly be. Yet, as Alicia entered the conference room, all eyes turned to her. And that's when Lisa's confidence began to crumble. The senior staff was already seated, waiting for the new owner's introduction. Lisa sat near the head of the table, confidently tapping her pen against her notepad. The company's CEO, Mr. Thompson, stood up to greet Alicia. "Ms. Monroe, we're honored to have you here. Please have a seat at the head of the table." Lisa's heart skipped a beat. Head of the table? What? Alicia smiled warmly, shook hands with Mr. Thompson, and took her place at the head of the boardroom. Lisa's face turned pale. The realization hit her like a freight train. This wasn't a guest. This wasn't a potential investor. This was the owner of the building, the woman she had treated like dirt. For a few agonizing seconds, Lisa sat frozen. Then, scrambling to recover, She forced a smile and leaned forward. Ms. Monroe, I didn't realize. Welcome. What a pleasant surprise. Alicia's expression remained calm, almost amused. A surprise? Really? After the warm welcome I received last week, I thought you'd be expecting me. The room went dead silent. Lisa's fake smile wavered. Oh well, busy week. So many new faces. She stammered. Alicia didn't let her off the hook. I'm sure, she said, her voice smooth but firm. It must be hard keeping track of all the unqualified people who work here. Lisa's face flushed a deep red. She knew exactly what Alicia was referring to. And now, everyone else in the room did too. The employees around the table began to exchange glances. They had heard Lisa's comments about Alicia the week before. They remembered the mocking tone, the public humiliation, the condescending orders. And now, they were watching as that same janitor commanded the room, with more grace and power than Lisa had ever shown. Alicia leaned forward, her hands folded on the table. Let me make one thing clear, she said, her gaze locked on Lisa. I bought this building because I believe in creating workplaces where people are treated with dignity, no matter their title. Lisa swallowed hard, visibly sweating now. Of course, that's what we all want, she said weakly. Alicia's eyes narrowed slightly. Interesting, she said, leaning back. Because last week, I was here, working as a janitor, and I saw firsthand how that principle isn't exactly practiced here. Gasps rippled through the room. Lisa looked like she wanted to melt into the floor. I had no idea. Alicia held up a hand, silencing her. You didn't care who I was, she said simply. And that tells me everything I need to know. The power dynamic had completely shifted. Lisa, once so sure of her superiority, now sat small and silent. Alicia? She was in control now. And what came next would change the company and Lisa's life forever. The tension in the boardroom was thick enough to cut with a knife. Lisa Carter sat rigid in her chair, her once smug expression now replaced with pure dread. She had spent the last week mocking and humiliating a woman she thought was just a janitor. And now, that same woman had the power to decide her fate. Everyone in the room knew it, and Lisa was about to face the consequences of her arrogance. Alicia took a deep breath, letting the weight of the moment settle before she spoke. Lisa, you made something very clear to me last week. Lisa's hands gripped the table, her knuckles turning white. You showed me how little you value the people who work hard to keep this company running. You mocked them, humiliated them, treated them like they were beneath you. Lisa opened her mouth, ready to argue. But Alicia wasn't done. You told me I should work harder if I wanted to be successful. Lisa froze. Alicia leaned forward slightly, her eyes sharp and unwavering. Tell me, Lisa, how does it feel to be sitting on the other side of that power now? Lisa's face turned ghostly pale. The entire room was silent, waiting for what came next. Lisa's breathing became shaky as she tried to salvage what was left of her career. Ms. Monroe, I made a mistake. I didn't realize who you were. If I had known. Alicia raised an eyebrow. So, if I had been a real janitor, your behavior would have been acceptable? Lisa's mouth snapped shut, because there was no way out of this. Alicia straightened in her seat and glanced around the room. The employees, the board members, the executives, everyone was watching. Some with anticipation, others with hope, but all of them waiting to see what Alicia would do. She could fire Lisa on the spot, and Lisa knew it. Instead, Alicia leaned back, folding her hands together. Lisa, I'm not going to fire you. Lisa let out a shaky breath, relief washing over her, until Alicia spoke again. Not yet. At least. Lisa stiffened. Alicia turned to Mr. Thompson, the company's CEO. Effective immediately, Lisa Carter will no longer hold a managerial position. Gasps rippled through the room. Lisa's head snapped up. What? You can't do that, she sputtered. Alicia's eyes narrowed slightly. I can. And I just did. Lisa was speechless. Her entire career flashed before her eyes. The power she had once wielded? Gone. Alicia stood up, walking around the table until she was directly in front of Lisa. Since you think janitors have it so easy, I have a better position for you." Lisa's breath hitched. "For the next month, you'll be working with the janitorial staff, cleaning the floors, taking out the trash, doing the work of the people you so easily disrespected." Lisa's jaw dropped. You can't be serious." Alicia tilted her head. "You don't have to accept it. You can always walk away." Lisa swallowed hard. She knew that if she quit, she would be walking away from everything she had worked for. Her reputation was already in ruins. If she left now, no one would hire her again. She had no choice. The next morning, Lisa reported for duty, wearing the same uniform she had once looked down on. Her former employees watched as she pushed a cleaning cart down the same halls where she had once barked orders. Some of them felt pity. Others saw it as justice finally being served. And Alicia? She watched quietly from her office window, knowing that Lisa was finally learning the lesson she had ignored for years. That power means nothing if you do not treat people with respect. 6. Aftermath, a lesson in humility. 700 words, no repetition from the climax. Lisa Carter had spent years barking orders, looking down on others, and treating janitorial staff like they were beneath her. Now, she was one of them. For the first time, Lisa felt what it was like to be ignored, dismissed, and treated as if she did not matter. And it was excruciating. On her first day as a janitor, Lisa walked into the supply closet to retrieve a mop and cleaning cart. The same closet she had barely glanced at before. The same supplies she once mocked others for using. And the same people she had mistreated were now her co-workers. They watched her cautiously, not out of pity, but out of curiosity. Would Lisa finally understand what she had done? Or was this just temporary humiliation before she returned to her old ways? Lisa wasn't sure either. But as she pushed the mop bucket through the hallways, she noticed something. The employees who had once feared her now walked past her without a second glance. No greetings, no acknowledgement, no respect. And for the first time, Lisa realized this was exactly how she had treated them. Cleaning floors was nothing like she had imagined. It wasn't easy. It wasn't mindless. It was exhausting. Hours of scrubbing, lifting heavy trash bags, and wiping down surfaces that never seemed to stay clean. By the end of the first shift, Lisa's feet ached, her arms burned, and she felt utterly drained. She sat in the break room, head in her hands, when Mr. Jenkins, the elderly janitor she had insulted, sat across from her. He sipped his coffee slowly, then looked her in the eye. "Tough work, huh?" Lisa swallowed hard. She wanted to snap back, to defend herself. But for once, she had nothing to say. All she could do was nod, because she finally understood. Alicia Monroe knew that real change took time. She did not expect Lisa to become a different person overnight. But what she did want was for Lisa to finally feel what others had felt for years. So every morning, Alicia watched as Lisa walked into the building, wearing the same uniform she once ridiculed. She saw the way Lisa's shoulders slumped when employees ignored her, the way her hands shook from exhaustion after long shifts. And most of all, she saw the change beginning to form in Lisa's expression. A realization that status meant nothing if people did not respect you. By the end of the month, something unexpected happened. Lisa stopped resenting the work. She stopped complaining about the long hours. And instead, she started listening. She began talking to the janitor she had ignored for so long. She asked questions. She apologized, not in big speeches, but in small moments. A nod of respect to Mr. Jenkins. A quiet thank you to the janitors who had covered her shifts when she struggled. And when the final week arrived, Lisa did something no one expected. She walked into Vanessa's office. And for the first time, she spoke from the heart. "I was wrong." Lisa Carter's public downfall became a lesson for the entire company. Employees, once afraid to speak up, felt empowered. Workplace culture shifted. Respect became a core value, not just a corporate buzzword. Other companies took notice. Vanessa's story spread online, and soon, major corporations were re-evaluating their leadership structures. Training programs on employee respect and leadership were implemented. Companies introduced policies to protect lower-level employees from mistreatment. Executives started recognizing that true leadership came from understanding and respect, not just power. Vanessa herself was invited to speak at conferences, sharing how one decision had created a ripple effect across the industry. And Lisa, she was no longer a manager, but she had learned a lesson that would stay with her forever. Because sometimes losing power is the only way to understand what it really means. And that was a lesson worth learning. Respect isn't about your title, it's about your actions. If you believe in fair workplaces, subscribe for more inspiring stories.